freeze warning is still in effect. He knows how to string them together. We got another 2025 commitment to talk about and break down in some early analysis. Let's get into that right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. And whether you're on Facebook, any of those other places, including home base of YouTube, we just appreciate you hanging out with us for an impromptu live stream, as is the case for a lot of these 2025 commitments. Today, the news breaking that the Auburn Tigers and Hugh Freeze have secured the commitment of 2025 athlete, probably defensive back, Kendarius Reddick, not Riddick, Reddick, for the 2025 class. And it's a huge bit of news. You know it's big news when the ESPN app sends you a signal. So they obviously think it's a big deal too. So we're going to break down, discuss early analysis about that, as we've been doing for some of these 2025 commitments. Before we do that, though, a couple things I'd like for you to do for us as you come into our stream. Even if you're on the replay, a huge thing that you could do, smash the like button if you enjoy this type of content. And also if you feel like we've earned it. If we haven't earned it, I understand, but it's the smallest thing that you can do to help us, but it's also the biggest thing that you can do to help us as well. So take care of that for us. And of course, we'd love to know that you're here, especially if you're live. Post where you're watching from, your city, your state, and if you're international, you can do that too with a War Eagle, however you'd like to announce yourself into the presence of the live chat or in the comments section at the end. We'd love to know who is here. Last bit of housekeeping news too as well. Obviously, this is during the middle of the day, and I know a lot of people won't be able to join us live. Most of you will be catching this on the replay. So good reason to be subscribed. That's so you know when we go live. But also, we have to do this when we can. Normally, I would just save it for 8 o'clock tonight, but we have a live stream at 8 o'clock tonight that we'll be doing for previewing the Ole Miss game that I hope some of you will be able to join us. So that would conflict a little bit, and we're going to dictate all of our energy right now to this topic, your new commitment for the 2025 class, Kendarius Reddick. That's going to get confusing. Why is it going to get confusing? Just a little bit, I'll tell you. For 2025, he is considered an athlete right now. You know, sometimes that can be the most confusing designation because most people assume that's going to be a wide receiver, a defensive back. Sometimes it can be a linebacker. I don't know that it's ever a common thing for an athlete to be an edge rusher or never a lineman or anything like that. Or I guess they could be a quarterback. You might say that the ultimate athlete in some ways was Nick Marshall, former Auburn quarterback who was a defensive back and quarterback at one point in his career. And I'm sure probably wide receiver too, because he was just that good of a talent. A lot of people checking in. Thomas Bonita, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on Facebook. So we want to hear some of your thoughts, your reactions, things that you're thinking about now. Has this taken the sting off of 2 decommitments? Supposedly, there's rumors of a third out there happening for the 2024 class. I'll tell you what, if Hugh knows these decommitments are coming, he knows how to string a few of them together to make you feel a little bit better about your future situations. Maybe not current and in the current class, but right now, Auburn's sitting real pretty. We're going to look at that a little bit detailed. Reminder too, we always do full-blown videos with information about all the commitments, and we will do one for this one as we will for all the 2025 commitments, but we're going to wait and do those as soon as we're done with the 2024 class, because as we've learned, things can change very quickly, and there's no point in us just diving into things in depth when there is so much time left on the table for these guys to change their minds. So a couple things that I want to give you so that you have information about him is just kind of some of the general statistics, not statistics, not the right word, measurables and things like that. So, listed as an athlete, a lot of people expect him to play defensive back from Thomasville, Georgia, Thomas County Central High School. Again, part of the 2025 class, listed at 6 foot, 165 pounds. Now, depending on who you talk to, that probably, in my mind, says cornerback, but, it's a little bit taller. So if he puts some weight on, you might see him at a safety type of position, just going off of what most people say in terms of you know, measurables and where they expect him to play as an athlete. But the great thing about having an athlete is that exactly is what they are. They can be utilized in a variety of different ways. And we've seen that from time to time. Players get switched back and forth. One Trevon Reed was one of those, a wide receiver commit turned defensive back, but he was never really an athlete. He was like in consideration as that type of role. He was considered a wide receiver. And because he was that good an athlete, switched over and made the call. So wherever we can find a space for this guy, Kendarius Reddick, I'm happy about it. Here's the other thing, too, that's interesting about this. It's going to get a little bit, not confusing, but it's going to happen. And I had to double check. If you'll remember in the 2024 class, one of the biggest splashes that we've had is the flipping of DeMarcus Riddick, our ID, to that class. And now in the 2025 class, we'll have Kendarius Reddick, RED. One letter makes all the difference sometimes. I before E, except after C, all that kind of stuff. So a Riddick and a Reddick will, in theory, if both sign with Auburn, be on the team. And that will be a nightmare on defense for some of our commentators and announcers. To keep that straight, you'll have to really enunciate the rid and the red. Reddick, Riddick. It's going to be hard for me. I'm probably going to call him DeMarcus a couple more times throughout the stream right now. So again, that was some of the measurables, where he's from, where he's likely going to play. And my reminder for all of you is this, the hype, you need to indulge in it. You need to have fun with it right now. There is reason to celebrate, but know that there is a lot of time to go before this thing is solidified, before he actually signs on the dotted line. So not to be a Debbie Downer, but I think as we've all learned of recently, you need to really consider how early this is in the process. But he seems very excited to be a part of the team. Visited a couple of times already this year, and that bodes well for some of the excitement. And I also saw that I think it was Perry Thompson on social media messaged Caleb Falk, who's already been part of this class for the 2025 group, talking about just kind of pumping them up, how they're building that 2025 class so much. So it's a good sign. All the good vibes of the commits that are currently there kind of in good standing with each other for the most part, those that didn't leave. And that should make you feel really good about what's going on currently at Auburn. So talked a little bit about him. I do want to mention a little bit about and again, if you guys have comments or questions about the individual, please drop them in. But about the class as a whole, currently now 5 2025 commitments. And depending on which site group you go to, you're going to find a varying degree. So somebody will write a headline, Auburn's now number 4 in the class rankings, but it's in a specific class ranking. I believe it's 24/7. We're 4. I think we're at 7 and on 3, which is another prominent one. But the point is, as of this moment, Auburn is a top 10 and a top 5 in some cases class for 2025 already. So that should really, really excite you if you are a recruiting fan. It also should be tempered with a little bit of expectations that things are going to change, because more people are going to be added to our class, others' class, and that'll all start leveling out. But relish the excitement right now. As a reminder, here is your class for 2025 after this point. Obviously, Kendarius Reddick, Caleb Falk, Jordan Crawford, Malik Autry, and then the offensive lineman, Spencer Dowland. 4 of the 5 are on the defensive side of the ball. 3, I believe. Let me make sure I've got that correct. Yeah, 3 of those defensive commits in that class would be technically across the line, one of them being an edge rusher, Caleb Falk. And then Kendarius is starting the defensive back group there. So what does it mean in terms of his commitment for this class? Obviously, he's the start of it, but he is likely not the last. You usually take several defensive backs, maybe even athletes in your respective classes. So we'll continue to watch eagerly and see what's being said about this guy. Lots of season left of his junior year to watch him, but also a senior year to watch as well. Michael says, War Eagle from Huntsville, hearing he can hit, most likely a safety, glad to get him. I think a lot of people are going to lean safety. I don't know. There's something about this that kind of feels cornerback to me. And here's the thing, everybody. So when you're an athlete, it means you could do either or. You could even be a wide receiver usually. We've seen cornerbacks turn safeties before, even when they got here. Case in point, Jalen Simpson. So to me, this is a guy where we may say, hey, and somebody else is saying it here, it might be a safety. There is a high likelihood that things, no, I shouldn't say a high likelihood, and even enough likelihood that things could change once he gets onto campus, given how he progresses, how he grows and changes, and what the needs at Auburn are. You know, Jalen Simpson was a great cornerback. We needed him at safety, and he is tearing it up right now over there. Traditionally, your safeties are going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier. He's 6 foot, 165 ish right now. Obviously, only a junior, still plenty of time to continue to bulk up. Usually, you want your safeties to have a little bit of that extra pop, or to hit harder than they look. So, obviously, we'll watch that eagerly. But as most of you have said, it looks like maybe the consensus is safety right now, especially if he can hit really strongly. So, how do you feel about this? Like I said earlier, does this take away the sting of the loss of a couple, I should say, 2024 commitments? And I know that there's some speculation about maybe another out there. Recruiting is just one of those things that I do like to talk about, but it can be a messy thing. And that's why I encourage you all not to get too invested in it. But obviously, we have to be somewhat invested in it. So think about some of those things, comments, questions that you might have. We'll run back through some of this information here, but let me give you the rundown of what to expect here at E2C Network over the next hours and days. Obviously, you don't want to miss out on what we've got tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Auburn versus Mississippi, the Ole Miss Rebels preview and prediction show. We're going to walk through all of that and give you an opportunity to make a better prediction than maybe you have after you get some information and some discussion on it. It's a very fun show. I hope you all can join us. Don't miss Tiger Walk Live with us. As soon as it starts, it'll be 4 p.m. I said 4:30 yesterday, but 4 p.m. Central Time. Right after the show, right after the game, we will have our post-game discussion stream here. It'll depend on when the game ends and what the result is, but just be looking for that on standby. So those are your expected live streams and content. Plenty more, as you're finding out right now, that there's a lot of stuff you'll miss if you're not subscribed and following us everywhere. I see a lot of you talking about some of the guys that have either left. Yeah, it is what it is. It's a little bit disappointing, but don't let it take away your joy of this one. Some people will even say that we traded the commitment of that guy for this guy in 2025. Listen, if that helps you feel better about the situation, sure. I highly doubt that was what was going on there, given how far away the 2024 class is from being complete, and the 2025 class is really from even truly getting started. Kevin even says that he could change. Well, you were talking about somebody else. But yes, these kids can change their mind all the time. They're 18 years old. Imagine what you did and said and thought when you were 18 years old. I know it's crazy for me too. The other thing about this is, oh wow, I just had a brain fart too. I had like this big point that I wanted to make, and now it has slipped my mind. I'm gonna see if it'll spark. Obviously, a lot of you have maybe seen the news about Wesley McGriff stepping away from the program, meaning he is still participating, but not on the field. I don't know what's really going on there. I've seen some speculation. I think a lot of people associate some of those decommitments with that decision, or knew that was coming since some of them happened before it. But if that's the case, then why would this guy commit? Especially if he's probably a defensive back guy. We shall see. We shall see. So, lot to be excited about. Again, as a reminder, 2025 commit, athlete, and number one athlete. I didn't even mention that in some people's rankings for Auburn, beating out Alabama and plenty other prominent people that wanted this guy as part of their class for 2025, listed at 6 foot, 165, probably a safety. Thomas County Central and High School in Thomasville, Georgia. Folks, that is going to wrap us up here. A very short live stream, but wanted to get this out here. Hope to see you this evening for our preview and prediction show. And if not there, anywhere else where you can find E2C Network on YouTube, social media, and much more. And we appreciate you being here, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.